Hi, I'm Packy McFarland, and this is We Are the Church. It's a ministry of encouragement brought to you Monday through Saturday by the First United Methodist Church in Orange, California. I hope you're having a great week, and let's get started. Living in California, we've come to expect fires. They even refer to it as fire season. It's like Christmas or fall. We have a time where people expect fires. Here's a first-hand story of faith and fire from Sharon Dydron, Sierra Brooks, California. Driving home from the farmer's market in Truckee, that hot, windy August afternoon on winding Highway 89 through the Tahoe National Forest, a friend of mine and I were startled to see a tree in flames at a campground along the road. We were in the midst of a dry summer, and any fire in the forest had the potential of becoming dangerous. A U.S. Forest Service worker was standing there with a shovel, looking up at the burning tree. It was not a good sign. By the time I arrived home a half an hour later, my husband, Forrest, was running around the driveway, pulling on his volunteer fireman's yellow turnout coat. "There's a fire," he shouted as he jumped into his pickup. "I know," I called. "I just saw it." I watched him disappear down the long residential block on his way to the firehouse, and my stomach fluttered. Although the fire was about 15 miles away, anything could happen on a day like this. Suddenly I smelled it. Smoke. I craned my neck to see past our white two-story home and the skyscraper pines that framed it. A huge plume of gray smoke ominously wafted over the mountainside just beyond the golden meadow behind our house. Many ridges sat between the flames and our house, but southwesterly winds were whipping the fire right towards us. As the Loyalton Sierra Brooks fire engine screamed down the road, an alarm of fear sounded in me as well. I tried to pray away my panic, but it still crept into me, like the smoke sneaking over the mountains. Within hours, a smoky acrid haze pervaded our mile-high valley, so that even home was no longer a haven. Fire trucks streamed in from surrounding counties. News flashes reported that a 25-mile-an-hour wind and dry timber were feeding the fire. A numbness washed over me. A firestorm could be raging at our back door in hours. I hurriedly threw photos and clothing into suitcases, then commandeered our kids. We all jumped into my in-laws' old motorhome stored in our driveway, and in minutes we were headed to my sister Denise's home in Reno, 40 miles away. "It's too much, God," I prayed. "Please make the fire go away." It didn't. The next morning, Forrest called to tell me the Cottonwood Fire, as has now been named, was roaring toward our home. Seeing the panic in my eyes, a friend, Brad, walked up and put his arm around me. A veteran U.S. Forest Service fire manager, he was the commander for the western edge of the fire. "We'll do the best we can, Sharon," he said, and I knew he would. The red-orange firestorm, more than 2,700 acres in size, was already cresting the western mountainside, threatening his nearby home as well. I watched the fire hungrily lick its way over the mountains. My heart was pounding. I knew it was then I probably seeing my home for the last time. Back at my sister's home in Reno, exhaustion hit me. Frightened as I was, I hadn't cried yet. I felt I had to hold myself together for the sake of the kids. Grungy and reeking of smoke, I headed for the shower, where my tears fell with the soothing streams. "God, I can't take it anymore. I haven't seen Forrest these last 2 days, just 2 quick calls. Is he okay? And my home may already be gone. Why would you give me a home, a sanctuary, and then take it away? I'm so afraid." I let the water run over me, remembering the last time I had to trust God in a big way. Matthew had almost been 4 when he was dying from leukemia. At a nurse's prompting, I set out the hospital's chapel. There I had prayed, "I love Matthew, Lord, and I want him to live, but he's yours, and I give him back to you." It hadn't been an attempt to bargain with God. I had given up my son because I knew God wanted my surrender and trust most of all. And soon, Matthew was on the road to healing and complete remission. Now I prayed in the shower, "Lord, you have faithfully brought us through each hardship. Why should you not be trustworthy again?" I would still trust God for everything in my life. Just minutes after my shower, my husband's sister telephoned. "The fire's on the 6 o'clock news, Sharon. Go watch it." A white-haired reporter in a yellow fireman's shirt was reporting live. My neighborhood stood in the background. Smoke billowed through the pines on the hills behind the homes. Then suddenly the scene changed, and I saw it. Our home. The front of the house filled the television screen. I held my breath as the shots changed every few seconds. The firemen rushing towards our house, flames swallowing 100-foot trees in a moment. Brad lighting a backfire at the edge of our yard. One of our trees bursting into flames just feet from the house. A fireman spraying foam over the kids' swing set. A helicopter dropping water from a bucket. What happened then so shocked me that I wasn't sure I was seeing what I thought I saw. A sudden force of wind blew back the massive wall of flames, and in an instant, the firestorm switched its course. Instead of heading towards our house, it turned almost completely around and rushed south. I gasped as the reporter confirmed that the fire had not damaged a single house. Oh, thank you, God, thank you. I almost shouted. It was several days until things returned to normal. Another arm of the fire continued to threaten nearby Loyalton for 2 days. The population tripled in size during that week, as more than 2,500 firefighters from the Forest Service and California Department of Forestry and volunteers from all over the West converged on our town of 1,200. Schools, the city park, the surrounding alfalfa fields looked like war encampments. Finally, the fire burned itself out near the Nevada border, north of Reno. More than 4,600 acres of Tahoe National Forest and grazing land were consumed by the Continental Fire of 1994. But not a home was lost, not a life. Some say the backfire helped switch the fire's direction, saving the houses. But even the fire manager in charge, Brad, said it was a miracle. The next afternoon, I returned home alone. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a television news crew interviewing a group of firefighters. I timidly approached and gasped when I saw Forrest standing with them. I had almost not recognized him. He was covered with soot, his thick brown hair was rumpled, and exhaustion was etched into his face. And his boots. The soles had been melted away. The intensity of the danger hit me, and I fell into his arms. News reporters moved towards us. One newswoman, 20-ish, dressed in jeans, perky in the midst of this battle-weary locals, brushed aside her layered brown hair. "Ma'am," she said, "I bet you feel really lucky." She smiled sympathetically as she poised her pencil over her notepad. I looked at her in disbelief. As the news camera zoomed in, I shook my head and measured my words. "Lucky," I said, "is finding a penny. This has nothing to do with luck." And as I walked back to our house with my arms around my husband and his arm around me, I thanked God, for he had shown me once again that when I put my faith completely in him, he takes care of my needs more wonderfully than I can even ask. He is worthy of my trust every time. Psalms 23 verse 4 says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." You know, we may not be faced with evacuation from a fire, but there are many obstacles in life that we can't control. If you've been facing adversity in your life, remember, God is always faithful. Now go and have a blessed day.